Kira is kind of viewed as a god now, and it's causing problems for Light. I discuss this and more on today's episode. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I found in my travels. Today I want to talk about some manga that I read, part of a series that I've been exploring, and today's manga is all about spokespeople, reporters, and books of death. I am referring to the Death Note Volume 10 by Tsugumi Ohba, which was published in 2007. I've talked about Tsugumi Ohba on this channel before, so again, I don't need to go into any detail. Refer to, Volume 1 of, if you're following along, if you want more details about Tsugumi Ohba. But as per usual, not his real name. He's using a pseudonym, and he's written a number of series, but primarily he's most notable for this, as it's been turned into movies and an anime as well, and is very well regarded in the manga community. So without further ado, let's talk about Volume 10 of the Death Note series. I will do a summary, a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. So Volume 10 picks up where Volume 9 left off. Nier and Mello have kind of kidnapped one of the Kira squad members, a man named Mogi, and brought him back to their facility, their hideout, in an effort to figure out who on the Kira squad is actually Kira. They believe Mogi to be L, although he is not actually L, and Nier and Mello are on a phone call with the rest of the Kira squad, pretty much saying that somebody on the squad is Kira, sowing some doubt as some people begin suspecting Light. And one person in particular, Aizawa, is going through his head, kind of understanding that Light is to be viewed with suspicion now. Now, meanwhile, Light has gotten word to his spokesperson Demagawa to sort of attack the headquarters where Mogi is at, in an effort to find Kira, to find or not to find Kira, but to find Nier and Mello, so Misa can see their faces and kill them, because she has the Shinigami eyes. Unfortunately, Nier and Mello are able to escape with Mogi and their entire group of people. They leave in riot gear, and they're not able to be seen, which upsets Light, and he realizes that things are beginning to get bad for him again, much like they were with the original L. Nier encourages anyone from the Kira squad to speak to him, which Light allows, because if he says no to that, that's going to kind of make it seem like he is, in fact, Kira. And he's also trying to refrain from actually killing anyone on the Kira squad, because, again, that would put more light on him, and he kind of wants to sort of get away scot-free without having to do all of that just yet. And so Aizawa speaks to him, and through speaking with Aizawa, Nier comes to understand that the person who is acting as L must have been related to Detective Yagami, because specifically Aizawa tells the story of how Detective Yagami threatened to kill the person that was suspected as Kira and himself, and the only way that makes sense is if Light is in fact the person who was under suspicion. So now Nier has a sort of understanding of who he might have to go after here. And Mello, meanwhile, on their end, they're kind of investigating and competing against Nier at this point, is investigating Misa to try to figure out if she might be associated with Kira at this point. However, Light has Misa give up her notebook, and her memory gets wiped at this point, which is very poor for Misa. She's had to use the Shinigami eyes twice, shortened her life, and now she has to forget everything again. It's very confusing for her. And then Light gives this notebook to another person, much like he originally gave it to the Yotsuba Corporation. He gives it to a person named Teru Mikami, who is a prosecutor. Very interesting that Ohba is suggesting that prosecutors be more than willing to take on the role of Kira. Mikami is very loyal to Kira, actively shows up to Kira support rallies and whatnot, and he has a sense of justice, very skewed perception of reality, as we come to find out. Again, Nier suspects Light, and Mikami begins writing names in the Death Note very quickly, based on people who he believes aren't really contributing to the world as much as they should be. And then Mello begins following Misa around in Los Angeles, but doesn't really find any information that would help Mello. And then Mikami ends up killing Demagawa, because Demagawa, it was really using the Kira spokesperson thing for their own benefit. They then choose a new spokesperson in Takada, who is actually somebody from Light's past. It turns out that Takada became a reporter for a news company, and before Light was dating Misa, he was dating Takada, and several volumes passed at this point. They went their separate ways, but now she really believes in what Kira is doing, so Mikami has chosen her as a supporter. But this makes it easier for Light to kind of relay messages to Mikami now, and try to pretend to investigate Kira, because Takada is doing this very publicly. And so Light tells the Kira squad that he's going to leverage his relationship, or his past relationship with Takada, in order to find Kira. So he goes there. He tells her that the police might be willing to work with Kira, and then the next day he comes back, gets sort of intimate, even though he's kind of married with Misa at this point, or gonna get married with Misa, and at this point, because of what Takada had said on TV, Mikami calls, and Light makes it seem like this Kira is going to sweep the room for electronics and whatnot, so he has to shut off the camera and the microphone, and therefore he's now able to talk to Takada, reveal that he's actually Kira, and then he talks to Mikami on the phone, and Mikami's like, "Is this God?" And Light says, "Yes, this is in fact God." And so he kind of relays important information that he wants to get across, and as the story comes to a close, Light tells the Kira squad that the Kira hasn't found out his name yet, but he's getting closer, and he's going to be able to sort of leverage his relationship with Takada to eventually capture Kira. Whether or not that's true remains to be seen, but that's where the story ends there. In terms of analysis, there is quite a bit worth talking about with Volume 10 of Death Note. The walls are sort of closing in on Light. Nier and Mello are getting closer to the truth, and Nier pretty much suspects that Light is Kira. He just needs evidence at this point, so Light's movements are getting monitored increasingly. One of the main themes that Ohba is touching upon here is that of divinity. Kira's followers seem to view him as an infallible god. Kira is killing the bad people, therefore Kira is not to be questioned. What Kira is doing is right and justice. It's appropriate for Kira to do what they're doing, and the police should not try to stop them. The government should allow Kira to do what he is doing. And essentially he's bringing justice to an unjust world that wasn't doing enough in the past. And it's, in their eyes, he's creating a utopia where everyone is doing things responsibly and is contributing in a meaningful way to society. Although, as other people have pointed out, That's not really what's happening. People are now living in fear, and you haven't created a utopia, you've created a dystopic nightmare. And I think that's best viewed through what you see in Teru Mikami's chapter, where it sort of goes over his past. The narrator says that he had he was sensitive towards justice, and when that wasn't being met, he got angry, and he wished death upon others. And eventually, that death was found because Kira was doing their job, and Teru was like, wow, God is listening to me. God is making sure people actually feel justice. That's kind of terrifying because, nobody's actually being brought to justice. They're just being killed by an all-powerful entity without, a trial or without anything like that. Allow me to read you an interesting quote from this. Teru was ecstatic with joy at the appearance of a god who proved that his justice, his beliefs, and his ideas were truly correct. God had been watching him. God had brought justice to evil because Teru never gave in. God was on Teru's side. God was watching him and knew him. And that's when Light pretty much recruits Teru to be the new Kira, or to enact Kira's will, essentially. And it's very interesting because if you have a certain worldview, and then it turns out that God not only likes that worldview, you're gonna see what you're doing is divine. You're not gonna bother to question whether or not what you're doing is what you should actually be doing, whether it's moral or just, because this God that you have always kind of pictured on your side is on your side. It's really weird. It kind of makes any death ordained. This person needed to die because Kira chose for them to die, and morality is bending to society's perception. If morality decides that what Kira is doing is right, then any death that happens, any regime change that happens, is justified in society's perception. It goes back to what was discussed a couple volumes previously, where Light points out that if Kira wins, then what Kira was doing was always right. And if Kira goes to jail, then what Kira was doing was wrong. And society is kind of morphing to that. But again, there's so many different obvious problems here. Again, just because society views something as right does not mean that's necessarily just. If society says it's okay to kill these children or something like that, that's going to create a number of problems because, it's still horrifying for that person to get killed, for those children to get killed, even if people deem it okay. It doesn't stop something from seeming reprehensible or anything like that. If you think of The Lottery by Shirley Jackson, where people were willing to go along with it even though it resulted in people's deaths, that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it okay for that lottery to take place. You should absolutely question everything here. And again, if society allows it, you're still it's not society that is determining who will die. Really, it's still Kira, and that creates a much larger problem because whose justice is being done? Who gets to say? People view Kira as this all-powerful being, but Kira is still a human being. Kira is Light, or Kira is Mikami here, and if one person is making that decision, it's still a human being, it's still a person, and the justice you're getting is this person's justice, a very objective or subjective justice, which is inherently problematic, not very good. So, these people might be viewed as divine, and society might be willing to go along with it, but there's still a host of problems that have arisen up along with Kira here. And I guess related to that, there's also the issue of Mikami in this volume. He really shows the true nature of Kira. With Light, there's argument that he's killing the people who need to die, and with the Yotsuba Corporation, that was kind of like a bastardization of Kira. Although Light did allow it to happen, he allowed that to end up in the Yotsuba Corporation's hands, given it was Rem who did that, but it was still at the behest of Light, kind of orchestrating all of this. So there's already flaws in this sort of way that Kira does things. But here, you see that Light thinks that what he's doing is righteous, but Mikami doesn't simply believe that he's righteous. He believes that he's doing things as ordained by God, that there's some power on high that says that he can do that. I don't think Light has fully tricked himself into believing that. He might think that Kira can be a god, but it's something that society has to allow first, and he kind of has to warp society to that way before he can achieve this godhood. But Mikami just straight up believes it right away. He is a true believer of the cause. So there's like Mikami is what is the inevitable end stage of what Light wants to be with Kira. And you see that with some shifting goals, because at the beginning it's Light killing people who need to die. Or killing people who have committed a great crime and are being held to account in his eyes, even if they are already in jail and are serving time for their crimes. But there's a part where Mikami begins killing people who aren't serving society very well. Like, they're specifically not using their talents to benefit society. And we see Light's reaction to this, like, oh, that's not what you should be doing. It's the next step that I would have gone, but that's not what Mikami should be doing now. He's kind of rushing through things, which kind of highlights the problem with Light is that he's moving the goalpost. He's shifting the targets. Who says that he gets to determine who has committed the greater crime? But now he's like, how does he determine how people are using their talents in society and whether people are living up to their full potential? Again, it's purely based on him. And then there's another part where Mikami starts killing people who have committed crimes in the past and might not have committed crimes in the future, and they might have already served their time for their crime. And Light's like, oh no, that's wrong. But this is the inevitable end stage. Light possibly can't see that this is what he has allowed. This is the world that he has created. It's already sort of getting out of his hands, and he thinks he can kind of control it. But I think this is one situation where his eyes are kind of bigger than his stomach, where he hasn't totally foreseen. Like, he thinks he's smart, but he's actually not really that smart, and he thinks he's just, but he's not really that just. He's just serving out his own justice. He gets to decide who lives and dies. And again, there's that question of, why does he get to decide who ordained him? Besides him having the death note, what particular talent, what particular insight does he have that allows him to do that? And the answer is nothing. Nobody really has that insight in determining who gets to live and who gets to die. It's all really like societal norms right there, which that's pretty much what the justice system is in America and many other countries. It's what society deems is right or wrong. But here, again, it's still Light kind of choosing on his own who gets to kind of enact Kira's justice and how it'll be enacted and who has to die. And it's a major problem that I think Ohba is doing a really good job of highlighting here. The last thing that's worth noting is Nier, of course, Nier in this story, and the breadcrumb trail that he continues to follow that was left by first Light, but also a little bit L. Nier and Mello are closing the net in on Light and Misa, and it gets so tight that Light has to pretty much make Misa lose her memories, have her give up the death note, which is unfair to her. There's a lot to be said about how abusive Light has been towards Misa. She's definitely guilty because she chose to use the death note at several points, but Light has manipulated her greatly. That just shows the heinousness of Light. But as the night closes, or as the net closes, Light is continuing to struggle, and Nier follows the story back. He checks with the Kira squad. He talks with the Zawa and finds out what L had really orchestrated with Detective Yagami threatening to kill Light. The relationship with Misa is investigated, and it's kind of the clearest sign that Light is the first Kira and Misa is the second Kira. And then, L at college giving a pseudonym that is just a rock star or something like that. And nobody can really identify who this person is, so Nier's like, oh, that must have been L, and he must have been closing in on Light, but then Misa showed up and made things a little bit more difficult. Nier is following all of this back, and you really see the difference with L. Like L, it was kind of more arrogant, but the biggest difference I think, as we're starting to see, is that Nier has the complete picture, whereas L was only there in the moment. Like he couldn't see how things were shifting and what his role was in all of this, and ultimately Light kind of cheated by giving up the Death Note, but with Nier, like Nier can see how Light has cheated, what different rules have been created specifically by Light, and like he can see Misa's part in all of this, and between Nier and Mello, like investigating on opposite sides, they have like a complete picture of what was going on in this situation. And so as a result, you see like Light making like a bunch of different drastic actions. First, for making Misa sort of give up the book, lose her memories, but also you see Light having Mikami, someone who's unproven, someone who's a true believer in the cause, taking the Death Note and causing a bunch more sort of chaos as a result. Light, I feel like Light thinks that he's in control, as I've said before. Like he thinks he's outsmarting Nier and Mello, but he really seems to be playing more into a bunch of traps that they've set, and it's really unclear how he's going to get out of this without causing a lot of death and destruction. So I really like how Ohba is sort of like concluding the story. You definitely feel like it's reaching its end point here. You wonder how Light is going to survive, if he's going to survive, and what exactly is he going to have to do to Nier and Mello in order to prevent all of this from enact or coming out to play, or like coming to its inevitable conclusion. Like what is he going to have to do? Who is he going to have to kill? What behavior is he going to have to exhibit that's definitely going to highlight who he was all along? Anyway, those are my thoughts on Death Note Volume 10 by Tsugumi Ohba. Pretty solid entry. This entire series has been a lot of fun. There's been definitely some entries that weren't as fun as the others, but I'm very much looking forward to reading the conclusion. I believe there's like 2 more volumes before like the 13th volume, which is more of a summary than anything else. So be on the lookout for that as I continue to explore it, and I definitely recommend that you seek this out if you have a chance. Otherwise, don't forget to leave a comment, or just let me know what you think of my review here. Like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about this series or this author if they don't already know. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and Shinigami-based travels. Farewell.